On the drive home with my wife, Aurelia, a man suddenly swerved into our lane and forced us to a stop. He was striking, handsome in a way that caught you off guard, but his expression was wild with rage. He stormed over and slammed his fist against my window. "Get out of the car," he shouted. I was stunned, having no idea what was going on, until Aurelia threw open her door, rushed to him, and wrapped her arms around his shoulders like she was soothing a tantrum. "Baby, don't make a scene," she said gently. "I wasn't ignoring your calls on purpose. The family dinner just ran longer than I thought." My chest tightened. I reached for the handle to step out, but Aurelia spun around and shoved me back into the passenger seat. "Stay inside. Don't scare him." I froze. Scare him? The man turned his fury on me, jabbing a finger toward my face through the glass. "You piece of shit. You think Aurelia belongs to you? You think you can just keep her all to yourself? If you ever stop her from answering my calls again, I swear to God I'll beat the crap out of you." There I was, her husband, locked in the front seat like some dirty secret, like the side piece she didn't want seen. I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. My mind reeled. 3 years I spent overseas, recovering from a near-fatal car accident, the very one that happened when I swerved to save her. And this was the welcome home, her lover playing the role of the rightful man, screaming at me in the street. She left me there. Left me and the car on the side of the road, like we were trash she forgot to take out. Her arm linked with his, voice soft and sweet as they walked off together, like she was calming a child. I had barely finished pulling up his background information when the call came through. Rylan Cortez. That was his name. I picked up. "Don't you dare try to use divorce to threaten Aurelia into cutting me off," he sneered. "Let me spell it out for you, dumbass. I don't give a damn if she divorces you or not. Marriage is just a chain, and I don't wear chains. Illegitimate kids have inheritance rights too. Her money, her love, they're already mine." Her money? Now that's interesting. So that's how he wanted to play it? Fine, let's play. "Only a shallow idiot like you would put so much weight on legal status," he went on. "You want the title? Take it. I'm giving it to you. Now stay out of my relationship with Aurelia." He said it so casually, so smugly, it was like I was the one having an affair with his wife. He wasn't acting like a side piece. He was staking his claim like a man defending his home. And why wouldn't he? Aurelia gave him that power. The fury in my chest was white-hot. I clutched the phone, every word laced with venom. "You know, if you really had what it takes, you wouldn't need to show up at my door throwing a tantrum like some circus clown. And Rylan, don't fool yourself. That so-called status you say you're handing to me? You couldn't buy it. You couldn't steal it. You couldn't earn it on your knees in prayer. You don't care about the title? Good. Because I sure as hell don't need your permission to keep it." There was a pause. Then he exploded. "You're gonna regret those words," he hissed. "I'm gonna show you just how much your wife loves me." Click. He slammed the call shut. I sat motionless for what felt like hours, the phone clenched in my hand, its screen gone dark long ago. The whole thing felt surreal, like I'd stumbled into someone else's nightmare. If that man hadn't come charging into my life so brazenly, I never would have believed it. Aurelia? The woman who swore she'd stand by me, through sickness and fire? The woman who nearly bankrupted us just to fly me overseas for top-tier treatment? She'd cheated? The words alone felt wrong in my mouth. Like a bitter taste I couldn't spit out. I typed out a message with trembling fingers, sending it to Natalie, my late father's most trusted attorney. "I want to secure my assets. Look into Aurelia's accounts. She's been unfaithful." Just hitting send made my chest feel like it was being split down the middle, torn clean in two. When Aurelia finally came home, she didn't say a word. She didn't try to argue. Didn't make excuses. She just sat across from me in silence, like a child waiting for punishment she knew she deserved. I couldn't stop staring at her face. And just like that, a memory broke through, clear and cruel. She was 18. Smiling. Holding a handful of wildflowers she'd picked by the roadside. "I'll always bring Oliver flowers," she'd said shyly, cheeks flushed. "It means I'll always love him, wildly, no matter what." A sharp, savage ache pierced through my chest. My vision blurred. I was losing it, grief and rage swirling so violently inside me, I could barely breathe. My eyes burned red. Her guilty gaze suddenly faltered, turning frantic and unsure, like a child caught doing something unspeakable. Then, finally, she spoke. "I'm sorry. I betrayed you. I'm so sorry." The words came heavy, like they cost her breath to say. She met my eyes for barely a second before looking away, her lashes trembling as she stared down at her lap. "That's it?" My voice cracked despite myself. "That's all you have to say to me?" I tried to sound calm, measured, but the emotion caught in my throat, my voice quivering under the weight. My eyes stung with tears I didn't want to shed. Aurelia took a shaky breath and continued softly, as if reasoning with a landlord instead of a husband. "Rylan doesn't care about the title. I'll figure out how to balance things between you two." Chapter 2. That line knocked the breath out of me. She wanted me to share her. She wanted two men to coexist in her life, peacefully. I bit down hard on my bottom lip, trying not to spiral, trying not to explode. What good was fury if it didn't change a damn thing? So I steadied myself and said it as plainly as I could. "Let's get divorced. I'll step aside for you too." That made her look up, fast. Her eyes were wide, desperate, like she hadn't considered for even a second that I'd actually let go. "No," she said, her voice firm. "I married you. I'm going to spend my life making that right. You risked your life for me. You spent 3 years in hell because of me. I owe you more than I can ever repay, but please, don't make things hard for Rylan." I let out a laugh. A raw, humorless laugh that scraped against the inside of my chest. "Oh, so this is your idea of making it right? Screwing someone else?" She flinched like I'd hit her. "I'm sorry," she whispered, barely audible. "The truth is, I love you both. I can't give up either of you." The suffocating silence between us was broken by the buzz of her phone. Aurelia scrambled to grab it, her fingers moving too fast, too practiced. The moment she saw the caller ID, her expression shifted, nervous, guilty, and instantly alert. "I'm not divorcing you," she blurted, then turned and walked out. She didn't wait for my response. Didn't explain. Didn't even look back. She didn't have to. It was Rylan. Of course it was. She ran to him now, eager, obedient, always available. Every little gesture she once gave me, every sweet instinct that once proved her love, was now being replayed for him. That night, I made a call of my own, to her parents. I laid it out plainly: Aurelia was having an affair. They laughed. Laughed. As if I'd just told them their daughter bought the wrong color curtains. "Oh, come on," her father said, waving it off like it was cute. "What woman doesn't have a man on the side these days, especially a wealthy one?" Her mother chimed in casually, "You're part of a union between the Bradshaw and Drake families. You're the legal husband. No one's taking that from you." They thought I'd come begging for support. For sympathy. For backup. They didn't realize I was there to warn them. Because once love is gone, there's only one thing left to fight for: assets. I never wanted to be Aurelia's enemy. But I'll be damned if I let her lover walk away with everything I built, everything that should have been ours. I'm not the kind of man you walk over. And I'm not the kind of fool who waits to be gutted. I didn't give myself time to rest. I dove headfirst into work at the Drake Group. We had an important client flying in, an old money type with deep influence, and it happened to be his birthday. I figured a luxury timepiece would be the right touch, something tasteful but unmistakably high-end. So I stopped by a luxury boutique downtown, selecting the newest model in a limited edition watch line. Sleek, rare, and just ostentatious enough. The sales associate boxed it up carefully and smiled. "That will be $100,000, sir." I handed over the card without thinking, a black Amex, the kind you don't question. It was the one Aurelia had given me 5 years ago. I hardly ever used it. The associate swiped it, paused, and looked up, still polite, but clearly uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, sir. This card has insufficient funds." I froze. For a second, my brain couldn't even process it. This wasn't just any card. It was hers, technically a supplemental card, but still. There was never a limit problem before. I pulled out my phone, about to call her for answers, when I heard the sharp rhythm of leather-soled shoes clicking against marble, getting closer. A voice followed, smooth and arrogant. "I'll take everything from your newest collection. Wrap it all up." I turned. Rylan. He walked in like he owned the place, and everyone in it. He gave me a single, dismissive glance. Then, with a smirk, pulled out his Amex black card. The primary card. Aurelia's main account. Mine, I now understood, was just the leash she let me carry. The associate took it with 2 hands, careful and deferential. "That comes to $1.6 million, sir." Rylan waved it off like it was lunch money and leaned back, pleased with himself. With a slow, deliberate motion, he pulled a cigarette from the inner pocket of his tailored jacket and held it between his lips. Immediately, one of the store clerks rushed forward with a lighter, practically bowing as he sparked it for him. Like some eager lapdog hoping for a tip. Rylan took a slow drag of his cigarette, then exhaled a cloud of smoke straight into my face. "Where a woman puts her money," he sneered, "she puts her heart. And you? You walk into a luxury store with an empty wallet? That's bold." The smoke curled between us, an invisible slap. I stared him down, my voice cold and steady as I pulled out my phone. "Hello, yes, I'd like to report credit card fraud. Someone's stolen and used my wife's card without authorization. Please send someone immediately." Rylan blinked, just for a second, but the arrogance never left his face. He scoffed and leaned in, voice low and taunting. "Wait till Aurelia gets here. You're gonna wish you stayed in your little corner of silence." Then he whipped out his phone and dialed her. No shame. No secrecy. "Aurelia," he barked, "your idiot husband's at it again, making a scene like some jealous ex. I'm giving you 20 minutes. You don't show up and shut him down. We're done." He didn't care that he was on speaker. Didn't care about the clerks, the cameras, the cops. Rylan wasn't like most side pieces who lie low and fake innocence. He wore the title like a badge of honor, "I'm the lover, and I'm proud of it. Go ahead, try and shame me." A few minutes later, just as the officers arrived, Aurelia came barreling in, breathless, panicked, and already bracing for the wreckage. The moment Aurelia arrived, she instinctively stepped in front of Rylan, shielding him with her body like he was the one in danger. Her eyes flashed with irritation as she looked at me. "What the hell are you doing?" she snapped, like I was the one causing trouble. And Rylan, drunk on her protection, charged forward. Without warning, he swung his arm and slapped me hard across the face. "You piece of shit," he spat. "You really called the cops on me? I'm spending my woman's money. That's called being loved, not stealing. What's it to you, huh?" His nails raked across my cheek, leaving a sharp, bleeding cut. And that wasn't enough for him. He lunged again, ready to hit me a second time. I raised my fist to defend myself, but 2 officers stepped in, grabbing me before I could throw the punch. Behind them, Aurelia had wrapped her arms around Rylan from behind, whispering like a mother soothing a tantrum-prone child. "Calm down, baby. Please," she murmured, "let me handle this, okay? Let me fix it." Rylan was seething, like a lion on the edge of tearing something apart. And she? She was the tamer, gentle, steady, devoted. Even now, with blood on my face and police between us, she didn't raise her voice at him. Not once. Instead, she turned to me, brows pinched with frustration, not at him, but at me. "Just go," she said, like she was begging me. "Please. Just leave." There it was. My wife, the woman who once promised to protect me from the world, was now standing against me, in public, guarding the man who'd humiliated me, hit me, bled me. She didn't just let him hurt me. She helped him do it. The pain in my chest tore loose like a wildfire. I snapped. Without thinking, I raised my hand and struck Aurelia across the face. "You're hurting me," with him, I choked out. "You're both hurting me." She didn't retaliate. She just stood there, taking it, stunned, silent, caught between guilt and paralysis. But even in her hesitation, her heart had already chosen a side. And it wasn't mine. Rylan lost it. Eyes wide with rage, he lunged at me again, fists clenched. "You hit my woman," he screamed. "I'll fucking kill you, you worthless son of a bitch." Aurelia threw her arms around him, holding him back. "Stop. Please, baby, it's okay. It's okay. Don't get worked up. She hit you. He's just upset. Please don't," she whispered, stroking his chest like she was calming a child from a tantrum. She never once looked at me. Not with defense. Not with love. Only with dread that he might explode. There she was, wrapped around him, face close to his, the two of them fused together like a couple straight out of a wedding photo. The officers stepped in again, pulling us apart. One of them asked plainly, "Sir, did he actually steal the credit card, or is this some domestic dispute?" I could barely breathe, rage coiled tight in my chest. I pulled out my phone and flipped to the photo of our marriage certificate. "We're married," I said flatly. "That's my wife's credit card. It's in another man's hands. He's spent over $1 million on it, and we were never notified. If that's not fraud, what is?" Rylan didn't even blink. "I didn't steal anything. My girlfriend gave me that card. I spent her money because she wants me to. That's not theft, it's love." He turned to Aurelia, smug and defiant. "Babe, tell them. Tell them it was a gift. Tell them it's our card. Not stolen. Tell them, or are you gonna let your ex play the victim?" His tone was triumphant. Confident. Because he already knew the answer. Aurelia hesitated. Just for a second. She looked at me, conflicted, silent, and that tiny flicker of doubt was all it took to set Rylan off. Smack. He slapped her arm hard, his face twisted with fury. "What was that?" he barked. "You can't let him go, is that it? You still got feelings for him?" No, I don't," she said quickly, her voice soft, her tone pacifying. "Your temper's just a little too quick sometimes, that's all." Even as she comforted him, her arms slipped naturally around his waist, fingers resting there like they belonged. She turned to the officers and said in a calm, clear voice, "This is all just a misunderstanding. The card was mine, I gave it to him. He had my permission to use it. There was no theft. That was it. The final blow." Her words rang out like a public verdict, and I stood there like the fool who cried wolf. The police exchanged looks. This wasn't their first domestic mess. One officer gave me a look that was somewhere between pity and dismissal. "You folks need to work out your relationship problems on your own time," he said. "Don't drag us into it unless there's a real crime. We're leaving now." They were already turning to go when Ryland's voice cut through the room like a whip. "Wait. Don't go." He pointed straight at me, eyes wild. "He made a false report. He accused me of stealing, tried to ruin my name. I want to press charges. I want him held legally accountable for defamation." The officers froze. Aurelia stepped in fast, her tone low and pleading. "Ryland, stop. Please. It's already gotten ugly enough. Just let it go, for my sake." "No." Ryland shook her off, his voice cracking under the weight of his own rage. He wasn't just angry, he was unraveling. "Oh, now you're defending him again," he shouted. "After all this, you still want to protect him? Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just in the way. Maybe you two should be together and I should walk the hell out." He was pacing now, shouting loud enough for the entire store to hear, chest heaving, movements erratic. The polished, smug loverboy persona had vanished. All that was left was a man consumed, by pride, by paranoia, by fear he'd just lost his grip on the one thing he thought he controlled. I could barely process what I was seeing. Aurelia, the woman who used to be soft-spoken, kind, full of grace, was now entangled with this loud, violent man like it was normal. Like he was the one who made sense. Ryland's outburst had clearly shaken her, and now she looked panicked, terrified he might actually leave her. So she did the unthinkable. She turned to me, eyes hesitant, voice low but steady. "This is your fault," she said. "You should go with the officers. Maybe some time away will help you cool off and reflect." Something inside me went cold. The woman in front of me didn't feel like my wife. She felt like a stranger. A stranger willing to sacrifice me just to keep another man from walking out the door. And Ryland? He pressed the issue like a man high on triumph, insisting that I be charged for filing a false police report. The officers, tired of the drama, finally complied. They cuffed me and led me outside. As I was being loaded into the patrol car, Aurelia followed. Her voice was soft now, apologetic, but still weak. "Ryland talks big, but he's not all bad," she said. "Next time you see him, just, don't engage. Keep your distance, okay?" I stared at her, blankly, coldly. Not a word left my mouth. There was nothing left to say. Inside the holding cell, I made one call. To Natalie. I asked her to quietly include divorce papers among other legal documents Aurelia would be expecting, to hide them in plain sight. To get her signature without her even knowing what she was signing. 7 days later, I was released. It was the same day every year. The worst day. The day our son died. Every year, without fail, Aurelia and I would go together, silent, hand in hand, to the cemetery. We'd kneel by the cold stone that marked his grave, surrounded by wind and wilting flowers. I had assumed, naively, that this year would be like all the others. That, despite everything, Aurelia would still come. That grief, if nothing else, would bring her back to our son's grave. But the housekeeper broke the illusion with a single line. "She hasn't been home in over a week, sir. Looks like she's been staying with him." I called her. But it wasn't her voice that answered. It was Ryland. Well, he said, his voice soaked in mockery. "Look who's out of jail. What do you want with my woman now, you pathetic piece of shit?" I was about to snap, already halfway into the curse rising in my throat, when Natalie walked in, calm as ever. She handed me a folder. Inside, the divorce papers. Signed. By Aurelia. That was it. the last string cut. I took a breath and said flatly into the phone, "Today's the anniversary of her son's death. If she wants to acknowledge it, fine. If not, doesn't matter anymore." That hit a nerve. Rylan exploded, switching to video call, fury distorting his voice. "Watch your mouth. Her son is alive and well, you hear me? You ever dare curse my kid again, I swear to God I'll beat the shit out of you." And then the screen lit up. The camera turned. And there she was. Aurelia. Sitting at a dinner table, arms wrapped around two children, a little girl, maybe 2 years old, and a baby boy who couldn't be more than 1. A birthday cake sat on the table, candles already lit. "Come here, both of you," she said sweetly, gathering them into her arms. "Let mommy hold you." The second she caught sight of my face on the screen, she froze. Her smile faltered. Not out of shame that the truth was revealed, but because she hadn't planned for Rylan to be the one to reveal it. She said nothing. Just stared. And in that moment, I realized. Even though we were done, ripped apart, paper signed, name erased. This cut deeper than anything that came before. Because it wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about the truth she buried with our son. And the new life she'd built, while I was still grieving the old one. So that's what those 3 years abroad meant. While I was fighting to survive. She had 2 children with him. Rylan, sensing an opportunity to twist the knife, leaned in with that cruel gleam in his eye. "Oh right," he said with mock realization. "You meant that kid, your dead son. Damn, what a buzzkill. Well, today just so happens to be my youngest son's birthday. So no, Aurelia doesn't have time to visit some grave. Go cry there by yourself." Click. He hung up. I sat there frozen, phone still in hand, barely breathing. Less than a minute later, a message buzzed through. From Aurelia. "Honey, you've always been the most understanding man I know. Can we go to the cemetery together tomorrow? Please believe me, I still love you." I stared at the screen and laughed. Softly. Bitterly. It was absurd. The kind of absurd that doesn't make you angry, just empty. People only learn pain when it hits their skin. And since you taught me with cruelty, Aurelia, I'll repay you in kind. I turned to Natalie and said with measured calm, "Don't announce the divorce just yet. I have other plans." That same night, I booked a flight to Switzerland. No goodbyes. No explanations. Just disappeared. Vanished from her world. The way she once vanished from mine. Even in silence, Rylan couldn't resist running his mouth. He tracked me down on Instagram and commented beneath an old post. "LOL, runaway loser. You fled like a coward. Your ancestors must be ashamed." Typical. Victory was never enough for men like him, they had to smear it in public just to make it real. Meanwhile, Aurelia was unraveling. She searched for me like a woman possessed, hiring private investigators across multiple countries, turning over every stone. When that failed, she went public. She offered 30% of Drake Group's equity to anyone who could find me. When no one did, she raised it to 50%. Still, nothing. Because I didn't want to be found. Until I was ready. 1 year later. She was at Disneyland with her 2 children, Rylan's kids. The scene was almost sweet, popcorn-stained shirts, balloons clutched in tiny fists, her hair tied back, sunglasses perched on her head. Then she saw me. And froze. I was standing just across the crowd, cradling an infant in my arms. My son. Her eyes locked onto the baby. Her entire body stilled, then trembled. Her eyes turned glassy. Red. And then she ran. "Honey," she cried. "Oh my God, I finally found you. But I didn't move. I stepped back half a pace, gently shielding the baby in my arms. My voice was cool. Detached. Careful, I said. Don't scare my son. She blinked, stunned. She looked at me. Then at the baby. Then at me again. Her voice cracked with confusion. Your son? Did you adopt? I didn't answer. Not fast enough for her. She rushed forward, joy blooming on her face. Oh, this is wonderful. We have a son again. She didn't notice the way my smile curved, not with warmth, but with calculation. She didn't see how Natalie, standing quietly at my side, had gone stiff, her jaw set like stone. No, I said softly. He's not adopted. I looked Aurelia square in the eyes. This child is mine. A flicker of surprise passed through Aurelia's eyes. Then, suddenly, something seemed to click. She lit up. Oh, I get it, she said, her voice rising with excitement. The embryos, the ones we stored at the clinic years ago. You had one implanted, didn't you? Through IVF? She smiled, eyes glistening. That's wonderful. We have a son again. I said nothing. I didn't tell her that this child, my child, was conceived naturally. With Natalie. And that every ounce of joy she thought she could reclaim. I was here to dismantle. Piece by piece. The same way she did to me. Bad man. Go away. Leave my mommy alone, you stupid man. Ryland's daughter stormed forward, fists clenched, eyes like dark marbles filled with rage. She shoved at my leg with all the strength a toddler could muster, tiny face twisted into a scowl. She didn't even know who I was. Didn't need to. The hostility in her voice made it obvious who had been feeding her the story. Ryland's voice. In her head. In her heart. Then her little brother started crying. Shrill, panicked sobs. He pointed at me, his voice wobbly with distress. Mommy, let's go home. That man's a bad man. I want to go home. Aurelia crouched down quickly and scooped him into her arms, soothing him with soft coos and kisses, rubbing his back like I wasn't even there. Then she looked up at me with a weak smile. They're just kids. They don't understand. Please, don't take it personally. I smiled back. Calm. Controlled. My voice low but clear. Oh, I don't. Children mirror their parents. Yours are no different. They're fierce. Just like their mother. I looked her in the eyes, the air between us colder than it had ever been. And since I never stood a chance against you, Aurelia, I doubt I'll survive against them either. As my words landed, I let out a soft, wounded sigh, cradling my son in my arms like a man carrying the weight of betrayal itself. Then I turned to leave. Aurelia reached out, grabbing my arm, her voice urgent. Please, don't go, she whispered. I know I hurt you. I know I let you down. But I'll make it right. I swear I will. I glanced back, eyes tired. Almost kind. And how would you do that, Aurelia? Then, quieter, like I was trying to protect her from the truth. Forget it. I don't want to make things harder for you. My son and I, we're doing just fine on our own. I took another step, and she stepped in front of me. But the chaos was already unfolding. Her son squirmed in her arms, shouting with all the righteous fury a toddler could summon. Mommy! Don't talk to that bad man. Or I'll tell Daddy. At the same time, her daughter lunged at me again, punching, kicking, slapping my arm and side with tiny but relentless hands. This time, I let it happen. I made a show of stumbling, falling gently but visibly to the ground, shielding my son with my arms as he burst into loud, theatrical sobs. I held him tight, rocking him. Shoo, it's okay, baby. Daddy's here. Natalie rushed forward instantly, concern etched across her face. She helped me to my feet and glared at Aurelia, her voice sharp and cutting. Even your lover's children bully Oliver, and you can't stop them. What makes you think you're worthy of taking him home? Aurelia's gaze dropped, not to Natalie's face, but to her hand, still resting on my arm. Something in her expression snapped. Like a wire pulled too tight, finally giving way. She yanked me toward her, eyes flashing, voice hard. Stay out of my marriage, Natalie. My personal life is none of your business. The air shifted. Two women, eyes locked, unmoving, neither willing to back down. I slowly pulled my arm free from Aurelia's grip, cool and distant. She's not wrong, I said softly. If even children can humiliate me, why would I ever go back to a home where no one defends me? Aria's tantrum escalated. She stormed at me again, hands flying, feet stomping, her tiny voice thunderous with rage. You're a bad man. Don't take my mommy. I'll kill you if I have to, I'm gonna protect her. For a second, Aurelia just stood there, caught in the storm she helped raise. Then something in her cracked. She grabbed Aria by the arm and pulled her aside. Her voice was sharp. Final. Smack. 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 She delivered 3 firm swats across the back of her daughter's thighs. Aria, she snapped. That's enough. You don't speak like that to adults. Oliver is my husband, my husband. You owe him your respect. The command, the force behind it, even the word, husband, it all stunned the little girl into silence for half a second. Then came the explosion. Tears welled up instantly in Aria's eyes as she pointed a trembling finger at me. He's not your husband, she screamed. You told me your only real husband is Daddy. I'm gonna tell Daddy you hit me because of him. I let out a shaky breath, pretending to be shaken, my voice thick, as though her words had broken something in me. Aurelia, already at the edge, spun on her daughter and slapped her across the face. Not hard, but sharp enough to freeze the air. You're out of control, she snapped. Absolutely out of control. Aria stood stunned, red-cheeked, the betrayal dawning slowly on her tiny face, then let out a high-pitched scream and burst into sobs. Aurelia didn't flinch. For once, the mother who coddled and pleaded was gone. She turned to one of her assistants, her tone brisk and cold. Take her home. Now. The assistant hesitated, then scooped the wailing child up and carried her away, her shrieks echoing through the park. And suddenly, it was quiet. No more kicks. No more screaming. Just Aurelia and me. She stepped closer, finally able to look at me clearly, her eyes soft but burning with urgency. Oliver, she whispered. Please. Come home with me. I mean it. Come home. I didn't answer. I just looked at her. Waited. 2 minutes passed in that silence. Her composure started to tremble. Her lashes wet. Her breath shallow. She was unraveling again, but not with rage this time. With need. With hope. When I finally spoke, my voice was quiet. Okay. Her eyes widened, disbelief and relief flooding her face at once. When I stepped through the front doors with my 3-month-old son in my arms, Gerald and Matilda were already waiting. Their faces lit up the second they saw me. Gerald rushed forward, practically beaming. We know you've been through a lot, son, he said warmly. But you're the legal husband, and let me make this absolutely clear, we will never let you or your child be mistreated again. Matilda nodded, her expression soft with approval. Whatever happened in the past, your family. Always. Gerald gently took the baby from my arms, rocking him with a reverence that betrayed just how rare genuine joy was in that house. "You don't need to worry anymore," he said, eyes never leaving my son. "Every asset I hold under my name, all of it, will go to my eldest grandson. Drake family assets. The real estate. The legacy. The power." I felt something cold and quiet curl behind my ribs, something almost like satisfaction. But my smile stayed mild, my tone even. I said nothing. Aurelia, eager to match the tone of family harmony, stepped forward and added, "I'll contribute too. I'll give 40% of my estate to our son." I turned to her, voice soft, expression unreadable. "Then on his behalf, thank you." She exhaled, visibly relieved. Her shoulders dropped. The tension she'd been carrying for months, gone in a second. She thought I'd forgiven her. And that's exactly what I wanted her to believe. Then, suddenly, her phone exploded with calls. One. Then another. Then another. It buzzed against the marble table like a wasp trapped in a glass. She didn't have to check to know who it was. Neither did I. "Rylan." She glanced at me carefully, like someone stepping barefoot across glass. Waiting for a reaction. A twitch. A glare. But I didn't give her one. Still, she panicked. It's work," she muttered, her tone forced. "Just a quick call. I'll take it outside." She was learning. Not quickly. But learning. At least now she knew she needed an excuse. What I didn't expect was that she came back. Only a few minutes passed before Aurelia re-entered the room, phone call finished, hair still neat, tone composed. She didn't vanish for hours like she used to. She didn't come back the next morning with perfume that wasn't hers. That, I hadn't anticipated. Gerald noticed too. He smiled, satisfied, and nudged Matilda as if they were witnessing some triumphant milestone. "Aurelia's really changed," he said, just loud enough for me to hear. "She's learning to be a proper wife. Having a child, it's grounding her." Matilda nodded in approval. "Absolutely. She's becoming more maternal, more stable. This new chapter is good for her." Aurelia glanced over at me, eyes gleaming with pride, as if she were being awarded. "That's right," she said, voice sweet. "From now on, my priority is family." I offered a faint smile. Said nothing. At dinner, Matilda and Aurelia had clearly instructed the kitchen to prepare all my old favorites. Comfort foods from another lifetime. But as I tasted them, I realized, none of them worked for me anymore. After more than a year of eating Natalie's cooking, flavorful, bold, personal, this meal felt flat. Impersonal. Off. Aurelia noticed the half-finished plate and leaned toward me, concerned. "Not your taste?" she asked softly. I smiled again, polite and empty. "I prefer spicy now." She blinked, genuinely surprised. "You used to hate spice," she murmured, wrapping an arm around my shoulder with a gentle laugh. "Guess your taste buds grew up. I'll have the kitchen add more chili next time." But she didn't realize. It wasn't just my taste that had changed. I had changed. Just then, a housekeeper appeared at the dining room door. "Miss," she said carefully, "that man is here." The room fell still. Everyone knew who she meant. Aurelia froze. Her expression shifted, tight, panicked, as she glanced at me, eyes scanning for a reaction. "I'll be right back," she muttered, voice thin. But before she could even reach the door, a car horn blared outside, sharp and angry, followed by a voice yelling through the street. "Aurelia! Get out here!" I said, "Get out here. You laid hands on our daughter over him? You think I'm dead or something? You dare raise your hand to my kid?" Inside, at the dinner table, Gerald slammed his chopsticks down with a loud crack. Matilda's face had gone pale with fury. "Look at the kind of man you got involved with," Gerald snapped. "Disgraceful. And now he's screaming in the street like some lunatic?" Aurelia, flushed with guilt, turned to me quickly. "I'll handle this," she promised, her voice trembling. "Please just, let me fix it." She rushed out. I followed, silent. Outside, Rylan was pacing near the car, red-faced and trembling with rage. The moment Aurelia reached him, he grabbed her by the arm. "You've lost your damn mind," he shouted. "You hit our daughter for him? What the hell is wrong with you?" She pulled him into an embrace, trying to contain the chaos, her voice soft but firm. "Stop it. Don't do this here. You're going to make things worse. Just go." "Worse?" he laughed bitterly. "I wasn't the one slapping kids and chasing ghosts. You don't love us anymore, is that it? You've gone back to that loser and just decided we don't exist?" Then he saw me. And that was it. His face contorted, all composure lost. "You piece of shit," he spat, charging toward me. "You stand there smirking while my daughter gets hit for you? You want to play games? Let's go, man to man, let's settle this right now. I'll end you." But I didn't move. I just stood there. Silent. Still. Watching. And that infuriated him more than anything. Because he couldn't shake me. Because I'd already won without lifting a hand. Aurelia tried to restrain him, arms outstretched to block his path. But Rylan wasn't calming down. He was spiraling. His voice grew louder, fouler, spitting insults like venom. "Oh, so you came back now, huh?" he snarled at me. "What the hell for? Didn't you run off like a coward? You think you can just show up again, with your little bastard kid?" Smack. The sound cracked through the air like a whip. I froze. Even Rylan, mid-rage, was stunned. Aurelia's hand was still in the air, trembling slightly from the force of the slap. She had hit him. The man she used to protect at all costs. The man she once betrayed me for. Rylan stared at her, wide-eyed and betrayed. "You hit me," he choked. "You slapped me? For him?" Aurelia's face twisted with guilt, panic, and exhausted fury. I didn't mean to," she said quickly, trying to smooth the blow. She reached out to him, touching his arm gently. "I just lost control for a second. Please, stop making a scene. You're only making things worse with my parents. They already hate you. You want them to throw you out for good?" She cast a desperate glance in my direction. "Oliver's not trying to fight you," she added, voice low. "He's accepted everything. Can't we all just coexist?" But Rylan had hit his breaking point. He pointed a trembling finger at me, his whole body vibrating with rage. "You're choosing him," he screamed. "You hit me. You hit our daughter. You stand there saying it's all fine, like I'm supposed to just take this? You're not the same. You've changed." Aurelia gripped his arms, trying to ground him, to soothe the animal she had fed too long. Okay, listen," she whispered. "How about this? Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, I'll be at your place. The other days, I'll be here. Can that work? Please don't make this worse." But it was too late. Rylan wasn't listening anymore. He wasn't bargaining. He was just seething, locked on me with eyes full of hate. Aurelia held onto Rylan's arms, her voice low, coaxing, almost maternal. "Can you please try to understand my position?" she whispered. "Don't make me stand in the middle like this. It's tearing me apart. I love you, Rylan. But I love Oliver too." Her voice cracked as she pushed forward. "This marriage. I can't end it, even if I wanted to. Our families are tied too deep, business, legacy, reputation. It's not just about feelings anymore. You know you have a temper. But deep down, you're reasonable. Just, try to see it from my side. Please. Ryland's chest rose and fell sharply, but the fire in his eyes began to dim. Her words were working. Until Gerald and Matilda stepped outside. Their faces were thunderclouds. Gerald's voice rang out, sharp as a whip. What are you all standing around for? Throw that man off my property. He turned to the staff behind him. And if he dares come back, break his damn legs. Aurelia panicked. She jumped between her father and Ryland, shielding the man who just moments ago had tried to throw fists in her name. Dad, please, she cried. Give me time. He's not a bad person, he just loses control sometimes. He just needs time. I can fix this, I swear. But Gerald wasn't listening. And then headlights cut through the driveway. A sleek car pulled up. Natalie. She stepped out calmly, not needing to say a word. I walked over, slowly, quietly holding my son in my arms, his little head nestled against my shoulder. I turned to them all, Aurelia, Gerald, Matilda, Ryland. My tone was soft. Sincere. If he's uncomfortable with me staying here, I said, then I'll go. I'll check into a hotel for now. No need to ruin anyone's romance on my account. I gave Aurelia a small smile. Warm. Forgiving. Or so it seemed. Then I turned toward Natalie's car, walking slowly, protectively, a picture of grace under pressure. Let him be the one screaming in the driveway. I'd be the one retreating, with all the dignity. And all the power. As I turned toward Natalie's car, Aurelia stepped forward in a panic. She instinctively grabbed my arm, her eyes wide and pleading. Don't go, she whispered. This is your home. What hotel? There's no need for that. I promise I can fix this, just give me a little time. Please, trust me. Matilda moved toward me with open arms, reaching gently for my son. Oliver, she said softly, you are the only man we recognize as her husband. That other one? He's nothing to us. We don't even see him. As she said it, she shot a cold, dismissive glance at Ryland, like he wasn't even worth the dust on her shoes. Gerald added his voice, his tone firm, final. You're not going anywhere. No hotel. No retreat. This is your house. I'll make sure you get a proper explanation for all of this. You have my word. Across the courtyard, Ryland looked like he was about to explode, but he didn't dare. He couldn't. Not with Gerald and Matilda both standing there, backing me. So instead, he turned to Aurelia, red-faced and trembling, trying to keep the rage contained behind a cracked shell of self-pity. Babe, he whined, voice cracking. Say something. Please. We have 2 kids together. That's gotta mean something. I've done my part, I've been there. Maybe not perfectly, but I've been there. Gerald didn't even blink. We don't keep people around just because they tried. That's not enough. Ryland flinched like he'd been slapped. But still, I kept my tone calm. Gracious. Unmoving. I really don't want to disrupt your family harmony, I said, eyes resting on each of them. Let me just take the baby and go for now. This doesn't have to get any uglier. And once again, I had them right where I wanted them. Not by shouting. But by stepping away. Which only made them chase harder. I paused. Then looked up at her, eyes steady. Aurelia, I said softly, life's too short to tie yourself to someone out of guilt or obligation. I know who you really love. It's Ryland. I hope you're happy together. Truly. Then I took a step toward the door. It was just an inch, but it was enough. Panic flickered in her eyes. A beat passed, then her voice snapped through the silence. "Get Rylan out of here." Her command was sharp. Final. The security team moved without hesitation. Rylan, stunned for half a second, quickly erupted. He flailed, shouted, tried to resist. "This is how it ends? Really? You're just throwing me out? You don't love me anymore? After everything, you just dump me like garbage?" But the guards didn't stop. They grabbed him, arms, legs, shoulders, and carried him kicking and screaming down the long stone path, his voice howling into the night. It echoed, pathetic and bitter, until it disappeared. Gerald and Matilda flanked me, one on either side. "You're not going anywhere," Gerald said. "This is your home," Matilda added. "Come back inside." I turned to Natalie briefly, gave her a calm, reassuring nod. She understood. The play was complete. I followed Gerald and Matilda back inside. That night, the house was still. Silent. Heavy. Aurelia came into the room after her shower, wrapped in a sleek silk robe. She tried to act casual, but I saw the nerves. The guilt in her eyes. The way her movements were just a touch too careful, too quiet. Our son was fast asleep, but I still cradled him in my arms, gently rocking, using his warmth as a reason not to move. Not to reach for her. She sat down beside me, trying not to disturb the moment, but unable to hide her need to be close. And then, her phone lit up. Loud. Repeated. Relentless. Rylan. Call after call. Buzz after buzz. She stared at the screen for a long moment, lips pressed into a thin line. And then, for the first time, I saw it. Not hesitation. Not worry. But irritation. She sighed and powered off the phone with a single tap. Silence returned. But this time, it felt different. Like something, finally, had snapped. I looked at her calmly, my voice gentle but direct. "Can I ask you something?" She glanced up, unsure. "Can you tell me," I said, "what it is you love about him?" I already knew the answer. I had uncovered every detail months ago. But I wanted to hear it from her mouth. That, after everything, was the real test. She lowered her gaze, lips pressing together as if weighing the cost of honesty. A long pause. Then finally, seeing that my expression didn't change, that I wasn't angry, wasn't hurt, she spoke. "When you were getting treatment overseas," she said softly, "I started buying flowers. Every day, I'd go to the same flower shop. I'd pick the best ones, just to show them to you during our video calls." She gave a faint, wistful smile. That shop belonged to Rylan. She didn't look at me right away, just kept her eyes on the floor, like she was confessing something to a priest rather than a husband. "I don't know how it happened," she whispered. "He was different. Messy. Loud. Honest in a way I'd never seen before. I grew up in a world where everything was polished. Tidy. Proper. I've always done what's expected of me. Married who I was told to marry. Spoke when spoken to. But Rylan." She exhaled, almost embarrassed by the memory. "He swore too much. He lost his temper. He said what he felt, without thinking about optics or reputation. And somehow, that made me feel free." She finally looked at me, guilt in her eyes, but no apology. Just truth. "I'll never be like him. I don't want to be. But when I was with him, I didn't feel like someone's daughter. Or someone's wife. I felt like me." She paused. "And you," she said gently, "you're like me. Too well-mannered. Too reasonable. Too good. You don't make life feel dangerous. You make it safe. Her words weren't cruel. They weren't even unfair. They were clear. And I listened to every one without so much as a blink. Because she wasn't telling me anything I hadn't already made peace with. Because my heart had already moved on. After telling me everything about Rylan, Aurelia turned the question on me. So where were you this past year? She asked, her voice softer than it had been in a long time. Did you live well? I looked at her, unflinching. Quite well, I said. Natalie took care of everything. So yes, very well. She nodded, oblivious to the weight beneath my words. With a magnanimous smile, she replied, Natalie was your father's most trusted aide. Loyal to the end. She's done well, give her a 10% raise. I gave her a small smile, calm but cool. There's no need for you to worry about that, I said. I know exactly what she deserves. She missed the shift in tone entirely. In the days that followed, something changed. Perhaps it was guilt. Or fear of losing control. But Aurelia stayed home. For the first time in years, she stopped running to Rylan at every beck and call. Even when he tried. Even when he called, raged, begged, she stayed. But Rylan couldn't take it. When manipulation didn't work, he escalated. He faked a suicide attempt. And he made damn sure the world knew. By the afternoon, headlines were everywhere. Aurelia Drake's secret lover driven to suicide by husband's return. 2 innocent children caught in toxic love triangle. Wealthy heiress abandons her real family for arranged marriage. The internet lit up with venom, most of it aimed at me. This guy couldn't control his wife, so he goes after her lover? Rylan might have been the third party, but he didn't deserve this. Classic rich people drama, play with fire, then call in lawyers to clean it up. Aurelia panicked. She called every hospital in the region, public and private. Nothing. He'd vanished. Deliberately. And not alone. He had taken their 2 children and gone completely off the grid. He started texting again. Short. Aggressive. Desperate. I never even wanted the title. But now that you're back here fucking up everything, I will fight for it. Aurelia loves me too much to walk away from me, and our kids. You think you've won? Watch me. You're nothing. Just a name on paper. And now I'm coming for that too. I smirked, glancing at the screen. The very thing he used to scoff at, legal status, legacy, family legitimacy, had suddenly become his battlefield. He wanted what I had. The very thing I'd walked away from without looking back. I replied, casual and sharp. Let's wait and see who lasts longer. That was all it took. He spiraled. Message after message flooded in, insults, accusations, juvenile jabs. It wasn't about the content. It was about volume. If he sent one more than me, if I stayed silent, it meant he'd won. In his mind, rage was still strategy. Meanwhile, Aurelia was drowning in backlash. The story had gone viral, scandalous headlines, trending hashtags, relentless think pieces about infidelity, privilege, and emotional abuse. The fallout had reached the top floors of the Drake Group. Gerald and Matilda had seen enough. To protect the family name, they clamped down, hard. They barred Aurelia from contacting Rylan. Grounded her, not like a daughter, but like a liability. And then the family released a public statement. On every major news site. The Drake family affirms responsibility for the well-being of the 2 children involved and will ensure they are cared for. However, we reject all association with Mr. Rylan Cortez. Should he attempt to leverage these children for personal gain, the Drake family will withdraw all financial and legal support regarding their future. It was a line in the sand. 2 children. They would protect. But Rylan? He was officially cut out of the story. The scandal had hit Drake Group like a wrecking ball. Stock prices plummeted. Investors pulled back. The whispers were turning into headlines. It was time. Time to end this. I arranged a press conference through Natalie. Something calm. Controlled. The kind of message that tells the world, we're still in charge. But I never made it there. Just as I predicted. Halfway to the venue, Rylan came screaming back into my life. He rammed his car into mine, forcing it to a violent stop on a deserted stretch of highway. Before I could even react, he was out of the vehicle, a wild glint in his eyes and a massive blade in his hand. He tore open the door, pulled me from the wreck, and threw me into the back of his car. We ended up in an abandoned factory. Rusty beams. Shattered windows. Stale air. He tied my wrists with coarse rope, panting, pacing, his face slick with sweat and rage. Then, he pulled out his phone and aimed the camera at me. Recording. "This is your fault," he shouted, addressing the screen like it was Aurelia herself. "You forced me into this. You didn't care if I lived or died, so now I'm gonna kill him." He jabbed the knife in my direction. If it weren't for him, we'd still be together. We'd be a family. He ruined it. He's the reason our kids are gonna grow up without a father. His voice cracked. "You want him to live," he said, snarling. "There's only one way. You leave him. For good. Marry me. That's the price." He held the phone closer to my face, practically shaking. "Say goodbye to your precious husband." I smiled. Calm. Almost amused. He froze. "What?" he snapped. "Why are you smiling?" I looked up at him, eyes clear. "You want to hear a secret?" I said quietly. He hesitated, then leaned in, his rage flickering with curiosity. "What secret?" I met his gaze. "I already divorced Aurelia," I said. He blinked. Stunned. "And I married Natalie." His whole body went still. "The child you're so obsessed with? He's my son. With Natalie. There's no marriage standing in your way. No legal status for you to fight over. I left that behind over a year ago." He shook his head slowly, as if trying to understand, his world tilting. "But..." I didn't let him finish. "Gerald and Matilda? They transferred everything, their full estates, to my son." I leaned forward just a bit. "Aurelia, too. 40% of her holdings. All of it, to him. Do you know why?" He didn't answer. "Because those were my family's assets to begin with. My legacy. When my parents died, the Drakes merged with us and locked everything under one roof." I smiled again. "I just chose a different way to take it back." Rylan stood frozen, chest heaving, the dull gleam of the machete catching the flickering overhead light. His hand shook. His eyes widened. He looked at me like he couldn't tell whether I was bluffing, or had just blown up his entire world. "Are you lying to me?" he growled, the blade now aimed at my chest. "You lying sack of shit, you trying to mess with my head?" I gave him a calm, indifferent smile. Almost amused. "You can check for yourself," I said coolly. "It's all public record. You're welcome to verify every word. And you should think very carefully about what you're doing right now. If you kill me, this becomes murder. You're not a victim anymore, you're a killer." I met his eyes. "And the law will make sure you pay for that." He didn't move. Because the truth was, he'd never intended to kill me. This was all theater. A desperate stunt to make Aurelia come running. To scare her into choosing him. He wasn't holding a real blade. I'd seen enough prop steel in my life to know the difference. Rylan. Drop the weapon. Now. The voice thundered from the entryway. Floodlights cut through the dark. Red and blue sirens flashed behind broken glass panes. Aurelia. She burst through the factory doors, flanked by police officers, guns drawn, vests on. The moment she saw the knife near my neck, something in her snapped. She didn't hesitate. She snatched a sidearm from the nearest officer and stepped forward, arm extended, finger on the trigger. "Drop the knife," she shouted, her voice shaking with fury. "I swear to God, Rylan, drop it or I'll shoot." Her eyes were wild. Unflinching. There was no softness left. No trace of the woman who used to hide him, defend him, beg for him. This was war. And he was the enemy. Even I was startled by her reaction. She had aimed straight for his head. Rylan stood there stunned, staring down the barrel of the gun held by the woman he once believed would never turn on him. "You're gonna shoot me?" he whispered, voice cracking. "Me?" Aurelia didn't blink. "I already lost everything because of you," she said. "I'm not losing him, too." And in that moment, he understood. He had lost. Not just the fight, but her. Rylan's face twisted in pain, not physical pain, but the kind that carves deeper, betrayal. "So that's it," he choked. "Oliver's the one you really love? And I'm just, nothing?" His eyes flared with defiance. "Then let's see what happens when I go after what you love." He raised the knife again, higher this time, swinging it down in a sharp arc toward me. Bang! The shot rang out like the sky cracking in half. In a single heartbeat, the bullet tore through his skull, right between the eyes. Rylan dropped like a stone. A puddle of silence spilled out around him, thick, stunned, brutal. His eyes stayed open as he hit the ground. Staring. Locked on the one woman he had thought would never hurt him. Aurelia. He never saw it coming. Aurelia stood frozen for a second, the smoking gun still in her hand. Then she dropped it and ran to me, falling into my arms like a terrified child. "It's over," she whispered, trembling. "It's okay now. You're safe. It's all over." She didn't even look back. Not once. Not at the man who had bled out on the concrete floor. Not at the man who once gave her a version of freedom. It was as if Rylan had never existed. But I couldn't stop thinking. Was this what it took to prove love? A bullet? A death? A courtroom? Was that what made it real? Then came the twist. One of the officers leaned down, inspecting the weapon that had fallen from Rylan's hand. "Jesus," he muttered. "It's a fake. This thing's a prop." Aurelia's breath caught in her throat. Her eyes flickered, just for a second. But the damage was already done. And when the police took her into custody, for discharging a stolen weapon, for accidental manslaughter, she didn't fight it. Just before they led her away, she turned to me, eyes pleading but composed. "I'll be fine," she whispered. "I promise. I'll be out soon. Just, take care of our son until then, okay?" I held her gaze, calm as ever. Then gave her a quiet smile. "I don't think your house is the right place for him," I said. "My wife wouldn't be too happy about that." She froze. Confused. Blinking. Disoriented. And just then, behind her, down the boulevard, a giant screen lit up. A live broadcast. Natalie stood at a podium, perfectly composed, delivering a statement to the world. Natalie stood behind the podium with the grace and precision of a queen claiming her throne. Cameras flashed. Reporters leaned forward. Her voice, calm and clipped, cut through the static of public outrage. "Oliver is my husband. We were legally married last April. He finalized his divorce from Aurelia 2 months prior, in February. Our son was conceived in April. Everything is entirely within the law. She held up their marriage certificate, the paper crisp and deliberate under the spotlight. Then came the kill shot. As for the divorce, well, I believe everyone's seen the reason by now. Aurelia had an affair during her marriage and even gave birth to 2 children that are not biologically Oliver's. Boom. It wasn't just the press conference that detonated. It was Aurelia. She stood in the crowd, her face white as salt, staring at me in disbelief. "You," she stammered, her voice barely audible. I looked her dead in the eye and smiled. There it was. The revenge. The reversal. The truth. "What's the matter?" I said, voice low. "Can't handle being treated the way you treated me?" I leaned in just enough to watch her flinch. "Good. That's how it should feel." Then I turned away, never looking back. As I stepped into the car, Natalie closed her press conference like a pro. And somewhere behind me, the police finally cuffed their target. Not me. Because what Aurelia never knew, what she would never know, was that the whole factory incident had been a setup. A trap. A script. A test. And she failed it. Spectacularly. I was never in real danger. I'd had private security on site the entire time, hidden in the rafters, ready to intervene if Rylan had so much as sneezed in the wrong direction. But Aurelia had fired the bullet anyway. That one, reckless shot, that was on her. The internet, once obsessed with tearing me apart, now turned on them. The headlines changed. Heiress in scandal, gunshot, love triangle, and a fake blade. Private texts leaked. Aurelia knew of Rylan's children during her marriage. Family empire fractured, stock plunge and boardroom shakeups continue. The pitchforks came out, this time for her. Gerald and Matilda? Heart attack. Literally. Both were hospitalized from the stress after the press conference. But even in their fury, they never made a move to reclaim the inheritance they had signed over to my son. They knew better. They knew if they tried to claw it back, it would only fan the flames of scandal. And deep down, they also knew. That money was mine to begin with. My family's empire. My legacy. They had only been the stewards while I was gone. Now, I had taken it all back. Every cent. Every share. Every ounce of dignity I had once lost. Not long after, Aurelia was convicted of involuntary manslaughter. 10 years in prison. The trial was swift, the verdict unanimous. Despite her tearful defense, the jury had seen enough. And outside the courthouse, the media pounced. A wall of microphones. Flashbulbs popping like fireworks. "Mr. Bradshaw. Mr. Bradshaw. Many people online say Natalie isn't good enough for you. What's your response?" I paused. Then gave a polite smile, slow and sharp. "You think the daughter of the richest man in Rainhaven City isn't good enough for me? That's an opinion I don't share." Right on cue, Natalie emerged from the black town car, elegant as ever. She walked toward me with a calm smile, sunlight catching the soft shimmer of her silk dress. I offered her my arm. She took it without hesitation. And just like that, we turned our backs on the chaos and walked toward a future that had been years in the making. Our love? It came unexpectedly. It burned hot. And it endured. Through betrayal, through loss, through 1,000 headlines. Ours was a love that didn't just survive the storm, it rewrote the ending. We were happy. Unapologetically, irrevocably happy.